The storm felt endless. I thought about giving up and going home, but I accepted one last ride, and I regret it to this day. I was already exhausted, parked somewhere random in the city, when my phone buzzed. It was a strange request. The passenger was waiting near a closed school right in the middle of the rain. I accepted without thinking, and that's when everything started to get weird. It was late, already past 10 p.m., and normally at that hour, there were no students or staff around. I pulled up in front of the school and immediately saw someone standing still right in the middle of the lock gate. It was a man in a hood, soaked from the rain. Without saying a word, he opened the door and got into the car. The moment he sat down, the atmosphere changed. He didn't speak, didn't even look at me, just sat there, staring out the window at the rain like he was lost in another world. Still, something about him made me deeply uncomfortable. I can't explain it. I just felt something was wrong. I started driving. The road was empty, just the sound of rain hitting the windshield. I tried to make small talk, but he didn't answer, not a single word. He just looked at me with a deep, unsettling stare. The discomfort only grew stronger. It felt like I was doing something I shouldn't. The road became lonelier with each mile. Houses got scarcer. Everything felt dead, almost abandoned. Then, in a cold, firm voice, he finally spoke. This is where it all began. I didn't know what he meant by that, so I asked, "What started here?" He didn't respond. Silence filled the car again. And with every passing second, I felt something building, like something was about to happen. I didn't know what he wanted or why he was with me. I just knew the feeling of danger was getting stronger. A few more minutes passed. Then, on a narrow, isolated street, he told me to stop the car. The rain was so heavy, I could barely see ahead. "You can drop me here," he said, in a tone that made it clear there was no room for discussion. Before I could say anything, he had already opened the door and stepped out. He gave me a cold stare, one I'll never forget. Then, without a word, he turned his back and walked away, disappearing into the rain. I sat there, frozen, trying to make sense of what had just happened. My mind was racing, trying to piece things together. I knew something was off. I just didn't know what. That night, I got home feeling strange. I tried to forget about it and sleep, but I couldn't get his face out of my head. The next day, still haunted by the whole thing, I looked up his name online, and what I found stopped me cold. His name appeared in an old news article. A student from that same school had died during a storm, under mysterious circumstances that were never explained. The date? Exactly 5 years before the night I gave him a ride. And ever since then, several people have reported seeing someone like him wandering near the school whenever it rains. Since that night, I've never been able to drive calmly during a storm again. It was a stormy night when everything happened. I was exhausted after a long day at work. I couldn't wait to get home, take a hot shower, and relax. My house was on a busy street in the city center. The traffic was heavy due to the bad weather, but something about that night felt different. The street, normally filled with parked cars, was nearly empty. There was no movement, and the sound of the rain seemed muffled, as if the world had stopped. When I got home, I noticed that the living room light was on, but I was sure I had left it off when I left the house. Trying to stay calm, I went inside, took off my wet clothes, made something quick to eat, and threw myself on the couch, trying to relax. The rain outside kept a constant rhythm against the window, but soon something started to bother me. Suddenly, I heard a muffled sound, like a light knock on the front door. I got up and went to the door. I opened it, and it was all empty, just a strong wind and rain. No one there. I didn't think much of it, closed the door, and went back to the couch. But the whole time, there was a strange feeling in the air, as if something was wrong. Later, I went to the bathroom, and when I returned to the couch, I noticed something on the floor, a mark of dirt, a huge footprint, imprinted on the living room floor. The mark was muddy, which didn't make sense. I had taken off my shoes when I came in, and hadn't walked through the house with dirty feet. I stood there, staring at that mark. I quickly cleaned it up, trying to convince myself that it wasn't anything, that it must have just been my imagination. I went to my bedroom, locked the door, and lay on the bed, trying to relax. The rain was still falling outside, but something kept me on edge. I felt like something wasn't right, as if I was being watched. I decided to try to forget about it. But deep down, my mind wouldn't let me be at ease. Suddenly, I heard a sound coming from the hallway. It scared me to death. I went to the door and opened it carefully. I heard that the TV was on, but I hadn't turned it on. I went to the living room, and there was no one there. My heart was racing, and I couldn't understand what was happening. Something was wrong, and I had to find out what. I went to the kitchen, trying to stay calm. That's when I looked at the table and noticed something strange. The remote for the living room TV was there, carelessly thrown on the table. My heart started to race, and the feeling of terror intensified. I knew I hadn't put the remote on the table. Anxiety took over, and I ran out to the backyard and called the police. They arrived quickly and began their investigation. After a thorough search of the house, they found a broken window at the back. It looked like someone had entered through there, probably while I was out. And while I was inside the house, that person was there too, watching me. There were no signs of theft or anything being taken. The police couldn't find any more clues, but the feeling of being watched still haunts me. I never knew who it was or what really happened that night. All I know is that, since then, I've never felt completely safe in my own home.